Transgender American swimmer Leah Thomas's Olympic dreams have ended for the Paris Summer Games. Now, the World Aquatic Swimming International governing body established a new gender inclusion policy in 2022, just 3 months after Thomas's title win. It bans biological male athletes from competing in women's elite races unless they transitioned by the age of 12 or before experiencing any part of male puberty.
They're like, oh, we respect Leah as a woman, as a trans woman, whatever, we respect her identity, we just don't think it's fair. You can't really have that sort of half support where you're like, oh, I respect her as a woman here, but not here. They're using the guise of feminism to sort of push transphobic beliefs. And I think a lot of people in that camp sort of carry an implicit bias against trans people.
But nonetheless, it's a win, and we celebrate those wins. Thomas can still compete in the Olympics, although he never will because he will never qualify in his rightful category, and that's the men's category.
Did you know one of the largest U.S. flags in the state of Georgia stands proudly in Pure Talk's parking lot? To honor the flag, Pure Talk is supporting America's Warrior Partnership in their mission to prevent veteran suicide. The transition to civilian life can be difficult, especially in this economy. Access to housing, employment, and even their earned VA benefits can be difficult. That's why Pure Talk proudly supports America's Warrior Partnership and their mission to prevent veteran suicide. You can join the fight when you switch to Pure Talk's 5G service and support this great charity. Now through Flag Day, they'll match every dollar donated. Choose a wireless company who shares your values. Upgrade your cell phone service to America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month. Dial pound 250 and say Brandon Tatum, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team will help you make the switch. Dial pound 250 and say Brandon Tatum for superior cell phone service that's half the price of Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. And you're helping to prevent veteran suicide. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies, welcome back to the Officer Tatum Show. I have a special guest coming in, and I'm so excited. I have so much respect for this young lady. I remember I introduced her at some event. It was a church event, I think, or at least Pastor McCoy told me, Brandon, can you introduce my next guest? And it was an honor, because there's not many women in the world today that are bold, courageous, that have faith, that are willing to stand, that actually can back up what they say. There's hardly any. I mean, I could probably count on my one hand how many I know personally. And I want you guys to give an incredible welcome to Riley Gaines.
Well, thank you. You are just the best. You're someone who I admire a whole lot. You're bold, stand in your faith, and of course, a lot of these cultural, social issues that we see. So I could not be more grateful and honored to be on with you. So thank you, Brandon.
Yeah, you're welcome, and I'm excited about your new book. I cannot wait to read it. I'm not sure if it's out yet. We'll get into that, but it's called Swimming Against the Current, and you're also the host of your podcast called Games for Girls. But I want to talk about your book real quick, Swimming Against the Current. Incredible name. Can you tell us, what inspired you to write the book, and give us a synopsis of what people can expect by reading this new book?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind these past 2 years or so. I never would have imagined I would add author to my resume, but here we are. And I actually just found out it's a national bestseller, which is very exciting news. But really, what inspired me to write this book? This is something that I wish I had when I had faced what I faced at that national championships back in 2022. I had no resources. I had no support. I had no knowledge about how to talk about this issue, what was going on behind the scenes. And that's what this book is. You can expect to hear a little bit about me, right? A little bit about my background, what it takes to compete and ultimately be successful at the highest level. A more in-depth account of what we face at that national championships in regard to the unfair competition and the locker room and the silencing that we faced from our universities and our administrators. How we got here, again, the trajectory of where we're going, and what we as everyday people, as common sense Americans who intuitively know that men and women are different, what we can do to combat this movement.
It's crazy that we even have to say that at this point. Men and women, people are confused. It's Leah Thomas. It's a man. Leah Thomas is a man. Everybody know that he's a man. Now, breaking news that I saw it yesterday, but I guess that Leah Thomas lost the legal battle in participating in this month's Olympics. And so, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, it seemed like the Olympic committee got it right. I don't know why in the world they're still struggling with this in high school and college.
No, I know it. Actually, the Olympic Committee has it entirely wrong. The Olympic
Oh,
Committee
is that
had no
right?
weight in this decision, but nonetheless, the courts got it right, which is amazing and is certainly not always the case, as we have seen recently. But it's a huge victory for women and girls everywhere. I mean, it's kind of sad that we are basically celebrating a judge ruling. I mean, it's essentially the same as a judge ruling that the sun sets in the west. That's the point
Yeah.
where we're at right now. But nonetheless, it is a victory in a time where it is deemed controversial to defend biological reality, to defend sex-based protections and sex-based rights, to defend women. But nonetheless, it's a win, and we celebrate those wins. Thomas can still compete in the Olympics, although he never will because he will never qualify in his rightful category, and that's the men's category.
100%. Homeboy was trash when he was a man, and that's why a lot of them switch. I mean, because they know when they are competing as a man, they look at the numbers and they say, "Well, I'm getting dusted off running against the men, or swimming against the men, or competing lifting against men." But I can look right over the aisle. I can see what the numbers are for women, and if I somehow became a woman, I'll be number one. It's crazy that they're
Exactly.
always like number one or number two. They make the podium in every event that they end up transitioning to. But do you think, Riley, that people are waking up? Is this obviously you guys have been doing an incredible job, especially you and others. I played sports at the University of Arizona, where we had some incredible swimmers, and I know that they're fighting the same fight that you're fighting. But do you think people are finally waking up, or do we have a long way to go?
100%. People are waking up. It's people who maybe would have considered themselves apolitical before, people who didn't really like Trump because of the mean tweets, or people who, never saw this as an issue that would affect them. Those are the people who are now understanding what's at stake. They understand the direction that our country is going. They see the threat that is being imposed by the Biden administration, and of course, trickling all the way down. And so, yes, I'm more hopeful now than I've been these past 2 years. Trump is up in the polls by double digits. We have over 20 states suing the Biden administration and the Department of Education for their illegal administrative rewrite of Title IX. This new court ruling, we had a big win in Texas. Attorney General Ken Paxton ultimately was able to get a federal judge to halt the Biden administration's new proposed Title IX and the effects of that, which are set to take place in August. None of this would have happened 2 years ago. So that tells me that now we are going in the positive forward direction. It's sad that it takes unfortunate circumstances. It takes girls losing out on opportunities. It has had to take girls being exploited in locker rooms, or being even injured in their sports before people understand the harm that's being done. But now I truly think they do, and I believe that the pendulum is restoring itself.
Riley, what do you think? That's two things I want to talk to you about. I'm gonna start with this one, and we're gonna get to Caitlin Clark in a second. So, but one thing is, what do you think the parents? What's their position in this? Because a lot of these young people in college, I mean, or in high school, some of these younger people, they're getting pressured and coerced into doing things that they may not agree with. What's the parents' role in this, man? Why aren't parents standing up and saying, "Look, enough is enough. We're gonna take action."
Yeah, there's a lot of fingers to point here. Ultimately, how we got here, right? We could point a finger at the IOC, the International Olympic Committee. We could point a finger at the NCAA, or again the Biden administration. But I think there's a finger to be pointed back at the parents. We have seen a failure on the account of parents who are willing to defend their kids, defend their daughters at that. I talk to parents all the time who reach out to me and they say, thank you for doing what you're doing. I can't say anything. My daughter's dealing with this, but I'll lose my job. So thank you for fighting for her. And it breaks my heart that you have parents who, I mean, this isn't a hill that they're willing to die on. If this isn't then what in the world is the hill that you're willing to die on? Do I have to care about your kids more than you do? What a tragic reality that is. But nonetheless, it's what we're seeing. And so, what we need to see from parents: defend your kids, defend your daughters, teach your sons how to be strong men at that. Stand up for them. It's so sad that the burden has to be bared by young girls. I mean, you look at what happened in West Virginia. Those 5, 13, 14-year-old girls, middle schoolers, who were forced to compete against a boy who ultimately these girls made the decision that they weren't going to. And it broke my heart. They
Right.
messaged me and they said, Riley, do we have to fight for second place? Are we not worthy of calling ourselves
Right.
champions? How sad that 13, 14-year-old girls have to think that.
Right.
We need to see parents who are willing to stand up, and we need to see coaches who are willing to stand up.
100%. Riley, I want to have you back for one more segment. We have to talk about Caitlin Clark. Y'all hold the phone. Riley Gaines after the break. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies, welcome back to the Officer Tatum Show. I have the incredible, I'm telling you, Riley Gaines is going to go down in history as one of the great women who started, I would say, even if she didn't start, because I know a lot of women probably have been fighting, but she has pioneered this movement to stand up for young women. She's been bold in the face of so much adversity. Help me welcome back Riley Gaines. Her new book is out, Swimming Against the Current, and y'all got to make sure y'all check out her podcast, Gains for Girls. It's available right now. And follow her on social media. You can follow her on X at Riley_Gaines_. So, Riley, I want to talk to you about Caitlin Clark because there's a lot of controversy surrounding Caitlin Clark. People love her or hate her. They think that the WNBA is hating on her. Some people think the WNBA is doing her just right. She didn't make the Olympic team. You know, I have my opinions about it. I want to hear from you. What's your thoughts on Caitlin Clark and the whole WNBA stuff?
Look, Caitlin Clark has not just propagated women's collegiate basketball, now the WNBA forward. She's propagated women's sports forward. It is so I'm so perplexed. I think perplexed is a good word. Like, I am just utterly confused. I have never seen an organization self implode in the same way that the WNBA is doing right now. They have screeched for years about viewership and more money and different things and equality versus the NBA. And now, of course, they're not there yet in terms of resources and finances, and obviously, and understandably so. But they're with Caitlin Clark, they're on the right path. And they're it's mind blowing. I don't even know really good words to say. You have Jamel Hill or Sunny Hostin, for example, who said that Caitlin Clark has tall privilege, but which doesn't even really make sense. Pretty privilege, white privilege, and straight privilege. How about the fact she's just setting records and an amazing player? How about that? Jamel Hill, who says that Caitlin Clark is problematic to women's basketball. Really? Problematic, because I think she's the problem solver to all of the problems that they claim the WNBA has. And so I, of course, believe she should have been on the U.S. Women's Olympic basketball team. But I've been really encouraged by Caitlin Clark's response. I mean, she's the definition of class, is what she is. She's humble, she's articulate, she's smart. And when she was approached about it, how do you feel about this? She said, look, I'm going to use it to motivate me. That's what this is. I'm coming back in 2028. And that, to me, you could let the attacks and the jealousy get to you. But I was really encouraged to see that response from her.
I'll tell you what, likewise, I'm very impressed by her. I never in my life thought about looking at a WNBA basketball game until Caitlin Clark came on the scene. And it wasn't just because of the controversy between her and Angel Reese. It was the fact that I was very enamored by how great she was playing basketball, right? I mean, she's setting records. She's coming out with all these accolades, and I was excited to see what is she going to do at the next level. I mean, the girl is hitting 3 points way back where the men hit the three-pointer at. I mean, she had half court hitting threes. She's like Stephen Curry. I mean, and like you said, she's very humble, articulate, and she reminded me a lot of you in the fact that when you put a camera in front of Caitlin Clark, when they put a camera in front of you, very articulate, very humble, very well-spoken, good sportsman. This is what makes great players and great leaders. Not some ghetto person out there. mad and throwing shade on everybody, but somebody who's humble. I got 2 minutes left. Riley, how can we get your book, and how do we continue to support you in your endeavors to help women in women's sports?
Of course. Well, you can get my book anywhere where you get your books. So it's on Amazon. You can check it out in any sort of bookstore, airports. I think even Target bought it, which makes me laugh because I didn't think Target was a fan of me and my stance on really anything. But nonetheless, anywhere where you get your books. And man, just keep talking about the topic. We hear so often from the other side that it's not really happening. We're just creating solutions to problems that don't exist, or it's just such a small percentage of trans athletes who are actually playing with the women and winning. Don't believe any of those lies. There are over 1,000 medals. It's all tracked. You can track it at shewon.org. This is where we've been able to record only the ones that we've been able to, medals and titles and trophies that have been stolen from rightful, deserving female athletes by less than mediocre men. So don't believe them when they say it isn't happening. Talk about it. Don't be afraid to ruffle feathers, step on toes, because that's how we got here. Because for so long people have been afraid. Be bold. Of course, stand for objective truth. More importantly, as you know, stand for biblical truth. God is very clear in saying he created male and female uniquely and intentionally in his perfect image.
Thank you so
very
much,
clear.
Raleigh. I ran out of time. God bless you. If you're in Arizona, we got to do a sit-down interview. I want to hear more from you. Ladies and gentlemen, Riley Gaines, go check her book out. Riley is such an inspiration to me. I seen her go from being that swimmer that got snubbed to her just being so bold and courageous and speaking out. And I just love how she's grown and progressed and the success she's having. I want nothing but the best for Riley Gaines, and I just think she's inspired so many young women. And she not, she's in shape, she's pretty. I mean, when you put all of those things together, she's such a good example. And being pretty is nor here nor there, right? I mean, when I say pretty, I mean she's keeping herself up, meaning that when she's presentable, she go places, she make her hair look good. She's not like a trashy person, because some people can't help it if they're pretty or not, right? I mean, that's God did that. That ain't you. But are you presentable? Are you making an effort to be an example? That's what I'm referring to. And Caitlin Clark is very similar in that, I think. And I think Caitlin Clark got a lot of room to grow. She's still young, but I love to see athletes like that take the mantle of leadership, and they take it full throttle, and they do right, and they're bold and courageous. And it's just good to see, man, because not a lot of women have that mindset, and just in my opinion, definitely not men. I mean, the reason that we have transgenders going into bathrooms and doing all this stuff, because men are feckless. Because men aren't raising their boys to grow up to be men. Therefore, their boys think they girls. And then men aren't saying, ain't no way. You finna run in a 400-meter dash and beat my daughter, and she been training all year, and you just tried to turn into a girl last year. You got me effed up. That's what I would be saying. Y'all don't play with me. My son is a little different. If I had a little girl, I mean, I still stand up for my son. You get that smoke any day of the week for my boy Caden. But my girl, who gonna protect my little girl? And somebody got their boy running track and beat my girl. Ain't no way. I couldn't do it. And when I say ain't no way, I felt the same way. I'm changing subjects real quick because I got a video on my YouTube channel that's going viral about that black girl who went in the parking lot and stabbed up this woman and her 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, and ended up killing the 4-year-old. And it brings me to my other point. When Dad went into the courtroom, he looked over at the gorilla over there, and he didn't even he kind of looked at her and was frowning, but he didn't react really. Ain't no way, cuz. If somebody would have killed my son, just that, and they in the courtroom smiling and laughing, I'm telling you guys right now, if you ever believed in me and thought I would never be violent, and then you're gonna unfollow me and never listen to me if I ever go to jail, you might as well quit right now. If somebody did that to my son, I gotta get you. I gotta get you. I'm jumping over cops. I'm jumping in the courtroom. I'll do some time in prison. I ain't got nothing to lose at this point. I could go to prison for a little bit. I ain't no way in the world the killer of my child is sitting in a chair right over here. I gotta get you. I'll pray for you though. I'll pray for you. I pray that God heal your wounds and forgive your sins. And maybe you in purgatory or something, because I couldn't live knowing that I didn't do anything. The little 3-year-old got stabbed to death. And then I was watching a surveillance video, and if you watch a surveillance video, it'll make you even more upset. And I think that's why that video is going viral, because I actually explained it. But this big gorilla, she looked like a gorilla. She actually walked like a gorilla. I thought she was a gorilla at first. Maybe with her mind, the way her mind thinks, that she would go kill a little innocent baby like that, she probably is kin to a gorilla. So she going in the thing. She steals a knife from a store. I mean, a big old knife. I'm not talking about a little shank. I'm not talking about a little pocket knife, a flip knife. She dang near stole a samurai sword. That knife had to be 12 inches long. This big gorilla is going through the store with a big old knife in her hand. And nobody's saying nothing to her. You know why nobody's saying nothing to her? Because she was black. Because she was black. If this woman was a white woman, somebody would have said something like, hey, look at her, man, what's she doing? Hey, why you walking around with a knife in your hand? Like, what you doing? Everybody be on alert. But God is my witness. This big old girl got this knife in her hand, look crazy as 2 left shoes. And I'm not calling her a gorilla because she's black. I'm calling her a gorilla because she's an animal for what she did. And maybe y'all want to attribute it because he's black. But she did kind of look like, man, anyway. She going thing with the knife in her hand. She passes the victim and the victim's child. And in the middle of this story, y'all, she turns around with the knife and follows her out of the store. Now, this woman see this big old black lady with a knife in her hand turn and follow her out of the store. She can feel it. She can see it. She was right next to her. She literally was walking next to her. You know why she didn't say nothing? Because she was black. That white woman did not want to get accused of being a Karen because a black woman is running around with a big old knife in her hand. And I think that led to nobody doing anything. I mean, maybe because I'm a former cop. If I'm walking in the store and I see somebody with a big old knife in their hand, it's like, wait a minute, the context don't match. First of all, you either stole the knife, which is a crime, or you up to no good walking around with a big old knife in your hand. You up to no good. Why are you past the point of sale with a knife in your hand? Now, if you in the store going through the aisles, maybe you wouldn't be holding a knife like that anyway, unless you completely crazy. But if you're going through the aisles and you're searching for groceries and you got a knife in your hand because nobody told you manners, that may be understandable. But the woman is coming into the store from the entrance exit with a knife in her hand. She's past the point of sale. So either she stole it or she came in the store with it in her hand. Nobody say nothing. I don't know if that lady was scrolling on her phone or what. She didn't see this big old black monster with a knife in her hand, and she ended up stabbing this lady. She laughing in the courtroom. And my wife actually felt sorry for her. My wife was like, man, see, conservatives get on my nerves. I agree with my wife, but I also disagree a little bit. She like, y'all conservatives always saying something. That lady has a mental illness. She's mentally ill. And my take on it is that I don't care. She didn't get put to death for what she did. It ain't the victim's fault she mentally ill. Hold the phone.